Happy Thursday. I hope you all can hear me. I hope you all can see me. Last Tuesday, just a couple of days ago, we were having a family friendly conversation, and I think the word that I talked about was the word equity. If you don't know me or you haven't joined me before, my name is Andrea Davis. I'm a life insurance agent, but I am a former public school teacher for over 20 years. I am a wife. I am a mother of two young men, 18 and 23. And so I want to have this particular time with you to have conversations or to promote conversations that we should be having in our home. Oftentimes, when we get to be adults, we are having to navigate our finances, and perhaps there are conversations that we wish that we would have had or would have been allowed to have or had access to conversations or concepts at home. So I want to have this time with you. And last time we were together on Tuesday, I used the Shark Tank as a conversation to talk about the word equity. When we think of Shark Tank, and hopefully you've seen Shark Tank before, we know that that particular show, entrepreneurs are trying to get a deal. And of course, the sharks are trying to make sure that it's a win win for them as well. And the sharks are asking for equity from that person's business. So we talked about equity and we talked about how to define it from a child friendly, from a family point of view, because we know that even if we don't use that word, then that is a word that we can incorporate because our children feel like, of course, that there is equity in their cell phones or there's equity and ownership in their gaming systems. And they apply that word because whenever the cell phones or the gaming systems get old, then they feel like that, that they can trade up or they can get something else. So they recognize that there is ownership in that object that they enjoy using, and they use that ownership even though you may have purchased it. They use that ownership or they claim that ownership and decide that, hey, I can get something else. And so that was our last conversation. I wanted to continue our Shark Tank conversation because, as I stated before, that 8-year-old who got a deal, I said, imagine the conversations and the vocabulary words that he is hearing. And so another word or another focus that we hear from the sharks is the word valuation. What value are you putting on that product? And so when we think about that particular product that they come in with, the sharks are trying to make sure that their valuation is accurate because the shark wants to know, well, what is their return going to be if they invest in them or invest in that product. They also want to know, how can this business or this product be scaled? So let's talk about that for a minute. The word is valuation. And I'm thinking that at this point in time of the year, there are I guess you'd say summer camps or camps. And I know it may be chilly wherever you are, but there are summer camps being advertised, and there are always kids who say, well, I want to go to the basketball camp. And so you may think in terms of, okay, you're looking at the money. And they, of course, are looking at the fact that this is a basketball camp. So this is a word that you can discuss with your child because you want to find out, well, what value is this basketball camp going to be? What is the return on the investment going to be? Is this a skill that you're going to use later, or is this a skill that's just for fun? There are some after school programs who teach chess, so what valuation can we place on that skill? Of course, we all know that chess is a skill that can build critical thinking skills that can go far. So whether it's playing chess, whether it's playing basketball, when we think of what our child is asking, what value and what return on the investment is there going to be as a result of them taking or being involved with that new skill? We also hear the sharks talk about being able to scale that business. So when we think about learning a new skill, learning to play basketball, we can, of course, think in terms of how can that skill be scaled. And a lot of us as parents, we think of that skill being scaled as in, okay, if they learn basketball now, they can get a scholarship later. I think in terms of my two young men, my youngest son enjoyed writing, and that was a skill that really, I think, I didn't know that he had that skill, but as a result of having to be grounded, I guess you would say, during the time of COVID, he enjoyed journaling, he enjoyed writing, and the more he did it, he really got good at it. And I am proud to say that he was able to write for his college newspaper. So that turned out pretty well. So I would say that the valuation, or there's definitely a return on that investment, and there's definitely a valuation. The sharks are very specific about the valuation, so I haven't really put a number yet, or gave that particular writing skill evaluation. I would say it is still in process. My other son stuck with football, and he was able to get a scholarship. So I would say again that, when we think of valuation and then what is the return on investment, that's a conversation that we can have with our kids whenever they're asking to do a specific thing. What value are they placing on it? And then they are also learning negotiation skills, because if they're trying to convince us to do a particular thing, to participate in something, then of course that means they're learning their negotiation skills. So I want to encourage you to use specific words in your conversation at home, so that they will have these skills and conversations when they are not at home, or that these words will continue to grow with them. So on Shark Tank, the young man that got a deal was 8 years old. So it's wonderful, to think, how can we engage our own children at home in vocabulary words, or in skills, or in the application of these words that will, of course, be fruitful for them whenever they become adults. So I wanted to focus on, those words, or to add that to our conversation. So we were talking on Tuesday about equity. And so today I wanted to add the words value or valuation and the word scale. We hear a lot about businesses who are trying to scale, because obviously, it's all about the bottom line. It's all about the investment. It's all about the return. So those are not just adult concepts or adult words. Those are words that our kids are putting in action. And so we need to tell them, or remind them, or just have the conversation so that they can use those words in their day-to-day language, of course. We also think as adults, we think in terms of even our life insurance policies. When we have a life insurance policy, we can think in terms of, the value that it has today, or in terms of the value that it's going to have later on down the road, especially if we're, if our goal, if our return on investment is, how's that cash value going to look in 10 or 12 years? And then what are we planning on doing with that cash value? So it's all about the valuation. It's all about the return on investment. So we as adults, we may say, oh, that's an adult concept when we talk about, what is the return on investment? But like I said, that's a very child-friendly concept, because they have things that they value as well. So just wanted to leave that with you, because my whole thought process behind this channel is that it takes more than muscle to create wealth. We're going to have to create wealth with our minds. And so we're going to have to commit to learn more, to engage, and to apply concepts in our everyday family conversation. So, and I think you might have heard me say it before, that it's really just as important that you give family homework as it is the homework that the school may give you. So as a former classroom teacher, the question that we would hear all the time is, what's the homework tonight, or what are they supposed to be doing, or what should they have done by the end of the week? My thought is always, well, what are you doing at home to supplement what we're doing here. You know your child better than anybody else. So again, these are family friendly conversations that I want you to be able to have at home, because all too often we find out or we gain our financial literacy after the fact, or we get financial literacy whenever we're on the negative side of things happening, whether it's credit card debt or whether we just made a bad financial move and we look back, and it may be that we just didn't do the right thing at the right time, or we lack the knowledge that we wish we had. So this channel is just all about having conversations with our young people. And you don't have to be a mother, you could be an aunt or an uncle, but either way, you're part of a village, I'm sure. So it's it's just imperative that we have these conversations with our young people so that they have a different mindset. And so that's what I want to leave you with today is just continue or either start to have those conversations with your son, with your daughter, so that they will understand what it means whenever they're in conversations and in certain environments, so that they will not only understand the conversation, that they will be able to participate in these conversations as well. Well, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.